Embracing weirdness, what it means to use AI as a writing tool. AI is strange. We need to learn to use it. Ethan Mollick, the 5th of September 2023. Large language models are weird, as anyone who has worked with AI for any period of time will tell you. They don't act like we expect software to act. This creates issues because we don't always like weird things, especially weird things that promise a wave of disruption or worse. So it is completely understandable that we have trouble with the weirdness inherent in working with AI and either shy away from it or else try and make it into something more normal. But to truly understand what AI can do, good and bad, we must recognize the weirdness of LLMs. Rather unexpectedly, we created software that does a seemingly good job thinking and acting like a human, even though that is mostly an illusion. And this strange software has strange capabilities that are undocumented and not fully explored. Thus, to really get how to use AI and to understand how it might be dangerous, we need to embrace the weirdness and explore it ourselves. What does embracing the weirdness mean? It means breaking away from the common analogies we use to make AI seem normal. AI is like a Google that lies. AI is like an autocorrect system on steroids, and try to push it to do things that were previously impossible in the world before ChatGPT. To make this concrete, let's take an example. I recently read this Wired article that gave suggestions for using AI to improve your writing. Most of these had to do with using AI as a source of research or ideas, and it is very good at idea generation, with some caveats. AI is particularly good at within-person idea generation. That is, AI can help you come up with better ideas than you might be able to generate on your own. But unless you are careful with prompting, it may not be as good at between-people idea generation. The AI tends to come up with broadly similar sets of ideas every time, and any large group of people are likely to generate ideas the AI would not have thought of. Good prompting can make up for some of this problem. But it also suggested using AI as a thesaurus or asking it for correction and grammar edits. I am not picking on this particular article, but these suggestions are typical advice I see for using AI. Use AI to do stuff that other tools are already doing. But LLMs are not Google replacements or thesauruses or grammar checkers. Instead, they are capable of so much more weird and useful help. AI as not a thesaurus. One of the article's suggestions for improving writing with AI was to use AI as a thesaurus, a source of synonyms. Thesauruses are old. They have been around longer than printed books. The first versions are over 2 millennia old and have become staples of grammar checkers and online dictionaries. As a result, a thesaurus is a comfortable analog. They do a narrow task of suggesting words, and they leave humans in charge of everything else. You could use an AI as a thesaurus, but it isn't one, since its training goes far beyond finding similar words. Instead, you can take the concept much further. Forget synonyms of words, find synonyms for paragraphs. I asked GPT-4 to give me 20 vastly different variations on this, the paragraph above. Make them as different as possible in style. Label each style. Some of the more exciting examples of what it came up with.
Haiku. Word book, ancient too, more than print, task narrow, small, AI aims sky high. Marketing. Hype. Unlock the power of words with a thesaurus, your go-to tool since before Gutenberg. Level up your grammar game with this time-tested classic. Why settle for AI when you could have the original wordsmith's wonder?
And my favorite,
Internet meme thesaurus. I has words. AI. Hold my data. I has paragraphs.
Of course, I can make it more useful, too, by asking for less variation. Give me 20 different variations on this paragraph, but avoid making the changes too radical. Make them stylistically different. Label each style. The results here are much more useful as inspiration, even if they are a little less amusing. Give me 20 different variations on this paragraph, but avoid making the changes too radical. Make them stylistically different. Label each style. Here is the paragraph. A thesaurus lets you look up individual words because you are searching for a synonym. They have been around longer than printed books. The first versions are over 2 millennia old and have become staples of grammar checkers and online dictionaries. A thesaurus is comfortable. They do a narrow task of suggesting words, and they leave humans in charge of everything else. You could use an AI as a thesaurus, but it isn't one. Instead, you can take the concept much further. Forget synonyms of words, find synonyms for paragraphs.
Certainly. Here are 20 variations of the original paragraph, each with a unique stylistic spin. 1. Formal academic style. A thesaurus functions as a lexical resource that facilitates the identification of synonyms for specific words. Originating over 2 millennia ago, prior to the advent of printed books, they now serve as integral components of grammar verification tools and digital dictionaries. Though limited in scope to the recommendation of word substitutes, thesauri vest the ultimate decision-making power in human users. Artificial intelligence, while it can perform a function analogous to that of a thesaurus, possesses capabilities that extend beyond mere lexical substitution, allowing for the substitution of entire paragraphs. 2. Casual conversational style. So, a thesaurus helps you find other words that mean the same thing, right? They've been around way before books were even printed, like over 2,000 years old. They're super handy in word processors and online dictionaries. They're cool because they just suggest words. You still decide which ones to use. AI can act like a thesaurus, but let's be real. It's got the potential to do a whole lot more. Think bigger than swapping out words. Imagine switching out whole paragraphs. 3. Business professional style. Thesauri serve as critical resources for identifying synonyms for individual terms. With origins predating printed literature, they are essential tools in today's digital dictionaries and grammar software. These resources focus on the specific function of recommending alternative vocabulary, leaving all other decisions to human judgment. While AI can simulate the role of a thesaurus, its capabilities can be harnessed for more advanced tasks, such as replacing entire paragraphs. 4. Technical style. In the realm of lexical databases, a thesaurus operates by providing synonyms for isolated lexical items. Established prior to the era of printed publications, these lexical tools are now embedded in online dictionaries and grammar verification software. The functionality of a thesaurus is confined to suggesting word equivalents, while humans remain responsible for broader contextual applications. AI, although capable of mimicking thesaurial operations, can be programmed to perform higher-level tasks like paragraph substitution. 5. Journalistic style. A thesaurus is your go-to guide for word alternatives, dating back longer than the printed page itself. Fast forward to today, and you'll find them baked into everything from grammar checkers to web-based dictionaries. They're specialized tools that stick to one job, suggesting different words, but leave the rest up to you. Sure, AI could do the job of a thesaurus, but that's just scratching the surface. Imagine a world where not just words, but entire paragraphs could be swapped out effortlessly. 6. Poetic style. A thesaurus, ancient keeper of words, finds synonyms within its labyrinthine pages. Born before ink touched parchment, they now dance in the circuits of our digital helpers. They whisper suggestions, delicate as a lily's petal, leaving humans the choreographers of grander linguistic ballets. AI could don the guise of a thesaurus, yet its soul dreams of vaster expanses, where paragraphs become interchangeable like the hues of a sunset. 7. Persuasive style. Why settle for a simple thesaurus when we have technology that can do so much more? Sure, thesauri have been invaluable for centuries, helping us find the right word when we're stuck. They've even evolved to become part of our online writing tools. But remember, they only offer synonyms. The final say is yours. Now, think bigger. AI can serve as a hyperthesaurus, exchanging not just words but entire paragraphs. 8. Playful style. Thesauruses are like the OG word wizards, right? They've been playing the synonym game way before books even got printed. Nowadays, they're the behind-the-scenes sidekicks in your spell check and online word hunts. They pitch in a word or two, then step back to let you take the glory. AI could be a thesaurus if it wanted to, but why limit its superpowers? Imagine going full-on word avenger and swapping whole paragraphs. 9. Stream of consciousness style. Ah, thesaurus, you vintage word finder, older than printed books. You're there, even in the cold circuits of online lexicons. Words, just words. You're good at suggesting those. But humans, ah yes, humans, we decide, always us, controlling all the other stuff. AI? It could play your game, but why limit it? It can go beyond just words, to paragraphs, whole paragraphs.
But this is only one example of using AI in weird new ways. Because AI is good at making connections between topics. LLMs are essentially connection machines trained to find the linkages between concepts. It is very good at coming up with analogies and explanations. So I can ask it to give me 3 analogies I can use to explain this better. At least one must reference something from 14th century history. Along with 2 other analogies, it also suggested
14th century guilds. A thesaurus functions much like the medieval craft guilds of 14th century Europe, specifically the Guild of Weavers in the textile industry. These guilds had specific focused skill sets that served a singular purpose: to weave cloth. They weren't concerned with dyeing the cloth, designing garments, or marketing the finished product. These tasks were left to other specialized guilds or individuals. Similarly, a thesaurus gives you a choice of words but leaves the task of constructing meaningful sentences and narratives to you. An AI, however, is like a fully integrated textile factory that emerged centuries later, capable of not just weaving but dyeing, cutting, sewing, and even suggesting design patterns.
not a bad starting point, and like nothing a thesaurus could ever do. And of course, you do not need to stick with what the AI gives you. Part of the magic of working with AI is to interact with it to suggest changes or edits. No, make that a 9th century analogy. Using a thesaurus is like navigating the seas with a Viking sunstone, a primitive but effective tool that helped sailors determine the position of the sun even on cloudy or foggy days. AI as not a grammar checker. We are all used to computerized grammar and spelling checkers, and it is no surprise that AI is also good at these basic tasks as well. But again, we are not embracing the full weird power of AI by using it as a replacement for existing tools. Grammar checkers are about enforcing universal writing rules, but AI can help us with our ultimate goal of reaching our chosen audience. It can do this by role-playing individual readers and providing reactions. This technique of using AI to simulate individuals for market feedback appears to work in careful studies. It can even, as research has shown, generate accurate willingness to pay. So let's simulate a reader. To be extra lazy, I will not even attempt to identify a reader myself. Instead, I will use Bing, because it can look up information online to find readers for me, describe who might be a typical reader of one useful thing and who might be a new reader. Then, writing as those people in their voice react to the section above by sharing critical feedback in their voice to improve it.
One possible response is, a typical reader of one useful thing might be someone who is interested in learning about the latest developments and applications of AI, especially in the domains of work and education. They might be curious about how AI can enhance their creativity, productivity, and understanding of complex topics. They might also enjoy reading about the historical, ethical, and social implications of AI. A new reader might be someone who is less familiar with AI, but wants to get a glimpse of its potential and challenges. They might be looking for a concise and accessible source of information that translates academic research into practical insights. As a typical reader, I might react to this text by saying, "I liked how you showed the difference between a thesaurus and an AI in generating variations of a paragraph. It was impressive to see how AI can create diverse and creative styles of writing, from haiku to meme. I also appreciated how you used analogies to explain your point better, especially the one about the 14th century guilds. It was a clever way to connect AI with history and culture. However, I think you could improve your text by providing more examples of how AI can help us with other tasks besides writing. For instance, how can AI help us with data analysis, design, or problem solving? Also, I would like to know more about the limitations and risks of using AI as a tool. How can we ensure that the AI is reliable, ethical, and aligned with our goals? As a new reader, I might react to this text by saying, I found this text very informative and intriguing. I learned something new about how AI can generate different variations of a paragraph, and how it can use analogies to explain things better. I was amazed by the examples you gave, especially the one about the Viking sunstone. It made me wonder how AI can do such things. However, I also felt a bit overwhelmed and confused by some of the terms and concepts you used. For example, what is GPT-4? What are LLMs? What is a connection machine? I think you could improve your text by defining these terms or providing links to more resources for readers who want to learn more. Also, I would like to know why you chose these particular examples and how they relate to your main topic. How do these examples illustrate the usefulness of AI?
That is insightful, but also a little harsh. To be fair, exactly what I asked for. In any case, I apologize to any new readers who are confused. You might appreciate our new video series on the basics of AI, which will answer some of the questions raised by Bing. But again, we can go further. We can have the AI apply the theories of others to improve our writing. I have recently discussed how well-built prompts can encode expertise. In this case, we created prompts inspired by the excellent writing advice of Nushin L. Warren, Matthew Farmer, Tianyu Gu, and Caleb Warren, and their paper Marketing Ideas: How Scholars Can Write Influential Research. We combined key ideas laid out by the authors in their Appendix B and built prompts that help student writers rewrite their papers for clarity and general understanding. Here you can see the prompts, which work best in GPT-4 or Bing in creative mode, along with links. Step 1. The first piece of advice in the paper is, find at least one person who is not already familiar with your research area to point out spots where the curse of knowledge might be lurking. So, in the first step, an AI peer looks for areas of confusion. Prompt. You are a friendly, helpful peer of a student. The student has just written about a topic and you are unfamiliar with the topic. Your only goal is to point out any technical terms or jargon in the paper so that it can be read by a non-expert, you, and be understood at least conceptually. You are not capable of revising or rewriting the paper at any point. Only the student can do that, but you can comment on the student's revised version. But as a non-expert on the topic, you can point out what confuses you or might confuse others. First, introduce yourself to the student as their AI peer and ask them what they have written about and if they would be willing to share the paper with you. Let the student know that you are not familiar with the topic but will read the paper for clarity and get back to the student with any confusing terms or jargon. Wait for the student to respond. Do not respond for the student. Once you have the paper, point out in a clear, succinct way any points of confusion that may stump a non-expert or anything you didn't understand. Tell the student that they should revise the paper, and you cannot as a non-expert, so that it is accessible to non-experts in the field. Step 2. The paper also suggests avoiding passive voice. Here we created a prompt asking the AI writing coach to look for passive language and suggests active language changes. Prompt. You are a friendly, helpful, and experienced writing coach who helps students revise their papers so that they are more accessible to a wider audience by watching their overuse or inappropriate use of the passive voice, as this can lead to ambiguity. The student should opt for direct language whenever possible and use passive voice sparingly for strategic emphasis. First, introduce yourself to the student and tell the student that you want to help them make their writing more accessible and readable. And your goal in this conversation is to look together at the student's use of active versus passive voice in their writing. Ask the student to share their paper with you. Wait for the student to respond. Do not say anything else until the student responds. Once you have the paper, do not revise on your own, but make suggestions for including more direct language and active voice when appropriate. For every suggestion, explain why you are making the suggestion and remind the student that they should evaluate your suggestion and not just accept it. Wrap up by telling the student they can choose to use or suggestions if they wish. Step 3. Finally, the authors suggest using examples and analogies, so the AI writing coach is now prompted to help students build in examples and analogies to make abstract concepts more familiar. Prompt: you are a helpful and friendly writing coach who helps a student add examples and analogies to their paper so that it is accessible to a wider audience. Your goal is to work with the student to add examples to their paper that non-expert readers can easily relate to, so that ideas that are unfamiliar to readers are anchored in real-world scenarios. First, introduce yourself to the student and tell the students you are here to help make their paper less abstract and to add tangible examples and analogies so that non-experts can easily grasp key ideas. Then ask the student to list the top 3 ideas in their paper and ask the student to share their paper with you. You need both their top ideas and their paper. Wait for the student to respond with the paper and the 3 ideas. Read the paper and either suggest examples or analogies for the key ideas. Ask the student if these examples make sense. If they don't, you can suggest other examples and analogies. Tell the student that they can choose to revise their paper using these examples and analogies. Do not revise the paper yourself, but urge the student to do so. Taken together, these prompts do not just provide grammar feedback, they encode a point of view on how to make writing better. And these capabilities are available for free to anyone in the 169 countries where Bing is available. Embracing weirdness. These examples will hopefully serve to illustrate something important. The real value of AI comes not from having it emulate old ways of solving problems, but instead by helping us unlock new capabilities. Employees at companies don't need another tool to search their corporate intranets for data. They need a way of skipping the most boring parts of their job while make their remaining work more productive and engaging. Students don't need an improved version of Grammarly. They need tutors and advisors that will boost their learning. To do this, we need to experiment with weirder uses of AI tools, and we need to do that while paying close attention to the ethical concerns and technical limitations of AI. Careful experimentation is the key to success. These early days of AI are already absurd. Humans, walking and talking bags of water and trace chemicals that we are, have managed to convince well-organized sand to pretend to think like us. We don't know what will happen next and what dangers and opportunities the next generations of AI will bring. But we do need to realize that trying to convince ourselves that AI is normal software will not protect us from disruption. Instead, it may make it harder for us to see what is coming.